If you all think for a second that I'm going to wear this not-so-Sylvester McCoy wig for the entire review, you are severely mistaken. This is horrible. It's itchy. It's painful. Hello everybody, I am Ace Creeper and today I'm back with a brand new video. Today, that was pretty epic. Today we are doing another classic Doctor Who review. I'm wearing some vaguely Sylvester McCoy gear. Didn't really have a cosplay, so I thought I'd do my best. There's a jumper, there's a tie, there's a sort of blazer coat thing, which is brown like his later episodes. Not this episode, but, you know. It's got the scarf, and obviously got the umbrella as well, which is going to be with me for the whole review, so that's pretty good. Other than that, it's terrible. Anyway, without any further ado, we are going to be talking about Remembrance of the Daleks. You guys voted for it, so I thought, yeah, let's do it. Remembrance of the Daleks I have already seen in the past, and I've done a bit of a rewatch so I could kind of pick up all the information, pick up anything that I kind of missed around, the first time, so I could finally make a review about it. We're going to do what we did for Genesis, talk very briefly about kind of who's in it, the TARDIS team, then split the story into two parts, talk about each part, and then talk about each individual character before giving it my overall rating. The TARDIS team here consists of the 7th Doctor, as played by Sylvester McCoy, and Ace. I found this a very interesting story to watch because, I mean, quite frankly, a lot of classic era does actually have the Doctor with more than one companion, so I thought it was going to be a bit more new Whoey. Let's see how interesting it is, and yeah, let's see if I liked it. So, splitting this into two parts. This was only a 4-part story, so episodes 1 and 2 are going to be in part 1, and episodes 3 and 4 are going to be in part 2. So, part 1 of the story, episodes 1 and 2. First of all, the setting. I loved it. 1963 London. Perfect year, of course, for Doctor Who, being when an unearthly child was set and when the show started. It was very, very interesting to see that put onto screen again. I didn't actually expect that. That was a surprise, me going into it. And so the sort of references continued from there. The Renegade Dalek, of course, showing up in Totter's Lane. The Doctor referring to the fact that he knows the layout of Totter's Lane, which I really, really liked. All the nods, sort of the first Doctor era and an unearthly child and all that sort of thing. When they go into Totter's Lane, they're faced with the Renegade Dalek, as I've just mentioned. But what I love is the sort of like soldiers, not really unit. I don't know what the sort of role was there, because it wasn't very clear. Like, obviously it was like a sort of army soldiers type thing, but it was never actually specifically said if it was unit or not, which I thought was an interesting concept. And the reason I liked that was, well, mainly obviously unit wouldn't have been a major thing back then, because obviously this was before the whole sort of Troughton Pertwee era, so like we wouldn't have had characters like the Brigadier or anything. But either way, it would have been nice to see maybe the early remnants of unit, maybe a bit of a unit origin story, if you will. But either way, we had some soldiers trying to sort of shoot out a Dalek. The Doctor's obviously advising against it. I love how we don't see the Dalek straight away. I like how we see the POV shots through the eye stalk of it sort of blowing up the battlefield. It is just a junkyard, and killing loads of soldiers, getting eventually defeated by the Doctor, who uses some explosives, knocks down a wall, and it was really, really good. I love that scene. It's a great scene. It felt really modern Doctor Who, like the action scene, the quality of it. Reminded me a little bit of Resolution. Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Resolution, how he's just like wiping out loads of soldiers, not unit, but just loads of soldiers in general who are stupid enough to try and fire back at it. It just won't work. But yeah, no, I really, really liked this. I think it worked quite well, this scene in particular, and as was the rest of the first episode. And in the sort of first half of the story, we see the Doctor talking about the Hand of Omega, which is a sort of ancient Time Lord device that can help them create and morph suns and planets and all that sort of thing, and the Daleks obviously want their hand on it. So the Doctor decides to bury it by taking it out of a shop, which he obviously stored it there, and buries it in a sort of ground. What I liked about this is the people who obviously owned the shop, where the Doctor brought it the first time, it was interesting to see that they all thought, they were like, oh, I was expecting the Doctor to be like an old grey-haired man or something. Interestingly, they keep bringing up the references to William Hartnell, which makes me kind of... I like this. It kind of felt like what would have been a great 30th anniversary, I think, for the show, obviously, because it was only a few years later after the show got cancelled. But I liked that, and I think it was quite a nice connection to bridge it back to those original days and all that sort of thing. And there were a few nice references here and there as well, and, I think that kind of built onto Sylvester McCoy's performance, which we'll talk about towards the end, but I was dead impressed with that element of all the references. I'm a big reference fan, so it's great to see Classic Who doing it, because obviously New Who does it a lot, where they reference back to the past, but it's nice to see Classic Who do that, because, in my head I wasn't really expecting that, so it was quite a nice surprise. Anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say for part 1. Genuinely interesting, not really many negatives. I thought I'll have certain opinions about some of the characters. We'll talk about that towards the end. But yeah, let's just get right into part 2, where everything kicks off. The Dalek factions start forging a battle against each other, which eventually kicks off. The Imperial Daleks getting a little bit buggered by the Renegades. So the Imperial Daleks decide to bring out the big boy himself, the Special Weapons Dalek, who then eventually wipes out the rest of the Renegade Daleks, or most of them at least. Yeah, loved it. I know this is like part 3 of like a Dalek Civil War story that's stretched across like I believe Davison's and Baker's era. I might be wrong with that, but yeah, I'll definitely be willing to go back and watch those to kind of see how this kind of came about. But it was a dead interesting concept. Love the Civil War aspects of it. I love how it was Dalek versus Dalek. They were both after the Hand of Omega. They weren't after, you know, destroying humanity or anything, which is a bit of a different side that I hadn't seen to the Daleks before. They weren't bothered about the humans. They were only going to kill the humans if the humans got in the Daleks' way. That's a different concept that I hadn't really seen much of before. You know, the Daleks wanted something. They didn't want to kill for the sake of it or whatever, or purity or whatever, which is usually the case. It was nice to see them actually going after like something against other Daleks, and they know that they haven't got time to just shoot up humans and whatever. Even though they know, both sides know the Doctor is there, they just don't want to kill him because they're busy. They're trying to get something. There's a big sort of battle between the two, human spies and all that sort of thing, left, right and centre. I'm not going to detail it. If you want to watch the story, watch it. It's pretty good. But anyway, yeah, the Imperial Daleks take the Hand of Omega and onto the ship and disappear into space, where the Emperor Dalek, who's been talked about this whole time and appears on the bridge for like the last like 2 or 3 episodes, is revealed to be Davros. And this was really interesting, of course, because I've just seen Genesis, so I can compare the performances now. The Davros has a confrontation with the Doctor, who tricks Davros and the Daleks into blowing themselves up and destroying Skaro. And then the Supreme Dalek has a bit of a meltdown. The Supreme Dalek, of course, being on the side of the Renegade Daleks, has a bit of a meltdown, knowing that all the other Daleks are dead. He's stranded on the planet, and Skaro and the rest of his, you know, Dalek brethren are gone. He's just by himself, and he just blows himself up. Kind of touching similarly to Dalek in 2005, which was interesting. Obviously this one seemed more like a bit of a fit and a bit of a breakdown opposed to just accepting death. So that was quite interesting. But you know, I quite liked that. And that's really all I have to say about general sort of story points. I think I can go more in depth with characters, so I'll just do that straight away. First of all, the Doctor, the 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy. What did I think about the 7th Doctor? I think he's brilliant. I think he's criminally underrated, and I feel like because of the sort of popularity at the show at the time being sort of like a bit down, Sylvester McCoy's kind of forgotten about in terms of like iconic Doctor history, but my god, he gives off a really good performance, and he's definitely one of the Doctors that I go, ooh, like he's the one I want to see more of desperately, as well as Tom Baker. But I feel like I'm slightly more lenient to McCoy, which is a bit odd. I didn't expect that at all, but I loved his performance. He was very cocky, but he's also very clever. He's made that very clear. And I think it's interesting because if you gave it a few years and you gave it, you know, if you gave it different writing, different episode format, he could very easily pass for a new Who Doctor. He's quite young in this. I don't know how old he was at the time, but he looks relatively young in this. He's very witty, very intelligent, talking a lot of techno babble and all that sort of thing. Bit of a quirky costume, but nothing too weird. Yeah, and ends up, you know, winning the whole thing. It was quite good, because I think his aim in this was sort of not to fight the Daleks. He wanted the Daleks to get the Hand of Omega. His fight in this sort of story was to stop the humans from interfering, which I think was brilliant. A different twist on a Dalek story that, again, something a bit new and refreshing that I just hadn't seen before. So I very much enjoyed his performance. I think he did a great job, especially with the angry scene towards Davros. Brilliantly performed, brilliantly acted, and definitely, possibly the best thing about this story is Sylvester McCoy. He's absolutely brilliant. I genuinely believe that as well. Just wonderful. Ace was, for me, alright. It's a really interesting one. Like, I really want to like her, and I do feel myself liking her in a few scenes, but to me, I think, I don't know what it is, but this is really stupid because of course I share, you know, my YouTube channel shares a name with this character. I like her, but she's quite annoying from time to time. I just feel like she's just the occasional things. It's like when she shouts "wimps" at the Daleks when they're retreating back to their base. Like that line didn't need to be in there, you know. I don't know her origin story. I know she comes from the future. That's very obvious in this. And I like, you know, the whole thing with the kind of bat being sort of superfied and her smacking a Dalek to death. Them scenes were great when she was running through the school and, you know, beating the crap out of loads of Daleks. But I think her as a character, she was going to be different, and I think I got that in my head a bit much. And when I came to actually see her performance in this, I enjoyed it. I thought she was an enjoyable character, and I definitely want to see more because I want to see if she's better in other stories. But in this sort of story, you know, it's very obvious that she didn't really have much to do other than sort of chase the Doctor around and then do a little bit by herself, blowing up a few Daleks. But I don't know, I felt like there was enough characters in this where it she didn't feel like she was doing anything, but also I think it was more so that, like, the stuff that she was doing, it was just quite annoying. Like, I liked her, but I didn't like her as much as I instantly loved Sarah Jane Smith, or even Harry in Genesis. The Renegade Daleks, I'm going to talk about next. We're going to split the two, because they're quite different. Yeah, I liked these. I liked how they used a few human slaves. I like how they used the little girl. Bit weird. To be honest with you, something a bit of a redeeming factor for Ace, I was expecting her to absolutely clobber the little girl with that bat. I was genuinely expecting it. I wasn't sure it was going to happen or not, because obviously the little girl was being controlled by the Daleks. So I was expecting Ace to just absolutely batter her. Didn't happen. Didn't happen, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I like the Renegade Daleks using human slaves. I like the designs of them. I think they look great. Obviously, they look very similar to the Genesis Daleks. And I like the Supreme Dalek as well. He looked quite big, bit shiny, but I quite liked it. I think that was a great design, and I think their story was pretty simple. You know, obviously it's like sort of a continuation of an existing war. I feel like the Imperial Daleks had more character to them and were used in better ways, but the Renegade Daleks were nice sort of primitive versions of the Daleks that I actually really, again, I really was entertained by. I very much enjoyed it. I think what else I have to say, not really too much. I quite liked it. The Imperial Daleks were another type of Daleks in this episode. Really, really love them. Love the design. A bit bright for me at times, but I think it worked incredibly well. Very, very interesting. Much more character to them. They felt really good when they were sort of droning the school. They were great. I loved how, because they weren't overpowered despite them being a little bit upgraded from the Renegade Daleks. They didn't feel overpowered. They didn't feel very powered at all, actually. They felt quite useless. But I tell you what, that scene where that Imperial Dalek starts to fly up the stairs, is that like the first time a Dalek's flown upstairs, or something like that, or flown? I might be wrong, but you know, if it is, that I can see why that was the first scene, because my God, are you on edge when those credits roll? My God, very, very entertaining, very, very happy with that. And overall, I think the voices were pretty good, very modern style Daleks, I would say. Maybe the design of the Renegade Daleks with the voice of the Imperial Daleks is kind of like a bit of a new series Dalek, so I quite like that. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. The Special Weapons Dalek, absolutely love, want him to come back already. Wish we'd seen more of him, but you know, it served a purpose for what, you know, what it was meant to do. Davros was the main villain, mainly towards the end in the sort of final part of this, and I really, really liked him. I like the bloke who performed it. I think my major criticism is there was little character there. I would love Genesis and how that gave a whole new dimension to a character that I already loved in the new series. This kind of stripped it away. I mean, it was like a very two-dimensional. It's like, okay, yeah, Davros, he's a crazy old man who's like half Dalek or something. He's the creator of the Daleks, and he shouts a lot and all that sort of thing. The only redeeming factor of that is the fact that the Doctor calls him out on it and starts shouting about like rice pudding and stuff. I love that, and I love that sort of play on it, but you know, nevertheless, it doesn't take away from the fact that Davros in this episode, or in this story, for example, was just a shouty madman who didn't really have too much of a plan. He was just a bit, you know, he seemed really sophisticated and really intelligent in Genesis, and he seems really good in the new series as well. This just feels like a bit of a downer, and the design of the Emperor Dalek, I'm sorry, but it just looks bad. Even comparing to like the original sort of second Doctor era Emperor Dalek, which looks massive and imposing. I know this is Davros, and I know that's the big reveal they were going for, but they could have made the Emperor bigger. They could have made the Emperor not be able to move, because when that thing started rolling about, I'm thinking, oh God, it's gonna wobble off the stand there. Oh, yeah, so I wasn't a big fan of the design, I'll be honest. But overall, you know, it served his purpose. You know, he wasn't the main villain of the whole story. He was in the last part, and I think that, you know, he did his job, and that's that. I think the humans in this story were really interesting, and by interesting, I mean interesting in a way of looking at them. I really wanted to like them, and I really wanted to relate to them, but other than the sort of female characters, like the scientific advisor who kept asking the Doctor questions and all that sort of thing, which was interesting, because that's usually what the companion does. It was quite nice to see a bit of a change over there. The human characters, like the sort of army general, who's got that mustache, and he's very, oh, I'm in charge, yes. The sergeant, who's very a bit, you know, touchy, feely with Ace, and a bit over the top, and then it turns out, oh, he's a spy. Which you can tell from the first time you see him, it's like, yeah, you're a bit odd, aren't you? You're a little bit odd. When you're going to be part of the main story, you're a little bit odd like that, you know, and there's definitely a twist coming. And that twist was revealed very early on for us, but found out later by the rest of the characters. Yeah, I quite like that. But I think my major issue with this is that if you compare to some of New Who, and you compare to some of Old Who, even in Genesis, and I know that's the one I'm using because it's another Dalek story that, you know, builds it up quite well, is that the characters in Genesis are all fleshed out incredibly well and really well done, whereas the humans in this felt so two-dimensional, like they felt really stereotypical, if you know what I mean. Like the army general, like, was, you know, he never had a character. I don't even remember him being given a name. I might be wrong there, but like he was, you know, it's like someone, it's like he didn't have much of a script. He had his script, but his notes for this like sort of acting role were stereotypical army general. Just be an army general, be a bit pompous, be a bit of a know-it-all, and then listen to the doctor when you realise you're wrong towards the end. And then the sergeant guy's like, be a bit flirty, continue being flirty, keep being flirty, even after we found out that you're an evil and you're not on the right side, you know? You're just a bit smug and a bit over the top. Not a fan of his character anyway. I know that's probably the intention of it, because you're not meant to like him. But again, I just feel like even his performance was just a bit like, it's just a bit bland. I think that's just a bit like, you know, it's not as fleshed out as I would have liked it, you know. Maybe this story would have benefited from 5 parts to kind of build it out a little bit more, bulk it up a little bit more. But, you know, I'm happy with an easy watching 4-part story. And at the end of the day, Remembrance of the Daleks is incredibly enjoyable. I love the fact that it's based in Coal Hill. I love the fact that it's in 1963 London. And the one thing I do want to point out is that reference to Doctor Who airing on the TV in the middle of the episode. That threw me right out of it. I even made like loads of tweets about it. But like, what? I forgot about that at my first watch, and I'm like, that doesn't make much sense. I'll be honest. That really doesn't make much sense in the slightest. You know, it's a fun little reference, yeah. But why would you do that? That messes with your canon so much. It's like, oh yeah, let's, you know, that would have worked for, again, like an anniversary thing, but it wasn't even an anniversary, I don't think. But yeah, my God, that took me right out of it. I was like, what? Why are you saying that? That's weird. Why are you saying, oh, BBC New Sci-Fi Show, let's cut it off. Let's cut it off as he's saying Doctor Who. But why even refer to the fact that Doctor Who exists inside Doctor Who? Weird. Don't like it. Weird. Anyway, but yeah, I think Remembrance is a thoroughly enjoyable story. If you're a fan of the Daleks and you haven't seen much of Sylvester McCoy, I definitely recommend. I think the best thing about this story is McCoy. Absolutely blew me away with his performance. I loved the Dalek Civil War. I loved his performance in it. And I love how everything was really easy watching. You know, a nice 4-part story was so easy to watch and just get through very, very quickly. And I really appreciated that. I liked that element of it. And yeah, I think that's all I want to say. I think overall, there were definitely some more noticeable flaws than there were in Genesis, so I'm going to have to knock it down a little bit, but overall it's still a very enjoyable story. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this classic Doctor Who review, another very long one, so thank you for sticking around. If you're new to this channel, make sure you do subscribe for some more classic Who reviews, Doctor Who lists, rankings and all that sort of thing, as well as being able to stay up to date with all the latest Doctor Who news for Series 12 and onwards. See you all then. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment below for any more suggestions in the future. Please do check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel, and the Twitter and all that sort of lovely links down in the description as well. See you all next time. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.